So this is something I'm really excited about that I kind of rediscovered. It's going to be taking a little quick look at, I guess for lack of a better term, a distro based on the Illumos kernel and parts of Open Indiana. So it's Open Solaris based, and this is called Tribblix, um, which is, I guess, as I said, sort of a distro. That term has kind of a Linux connotation to it. Maybe a spin might be more appropriate. It's a Illumos spin. Um, and I mean, it is just fantastic. I mean, this is the first, um, OS that really had me excited in a long time. Am I going to switch away from Slackware for my daily driver? No, but maybe for my other stuff, absolutely. So let's take a little bit more detailed look at it and go from there. Yeah, so this is going to be the milestone 15 of Tribblix. So I'm going to give it a little bit more memory. Yeah, I want to create it. Let's tweak a few settings here. Give it 4 CPUs just because we can. Um, yeah, we want that, and the Tribblix disk. Okay, fire it up. And again, as always, I'm doing VirtualBox over an X session. So if you see any slowness, that's why. Also, I'm going to be switching to scale mode. So the fonts may look a little strange here, but this will help it show up well on video. So it's distributed as an ISO, kind of a live CD. Haven't really figured out the utility of live CDs. I guess for trying something out, but you have so many limitations. Just install into a virtual machine somewhere. So pretty easy install. Root and the initial password is Tribblix. We get a live install script, which dumps everything out, gives you your base install, pre-partitioned, kind of like one big auto partition. There is a UFS install script. Something goofy. When I tried this before, I think this was a couple milestones back. I did it UFS. I would prefer UFS for most purposes, especially in a virtualized thing here. I don't use a lot of the ZFS features for kind of desktop use, dev work, stuff like that. Although I am starting to use some more of it in some applications. So, couldn't do the UFS. ZFS works fine. It does take a little bit more memory. Um, and so it also, as the other parameter here to the install is what are called overlays, which is a really nice way of dealing with packages. But I'll talk more about that later. But for the time being, we'll do kitchen sink, which is everything. And so it's gonna do all the ZFS um, stuff and create a pool. Speaking of this, Solaris has always had the most sensible um, disk naming convention. One of my complaints with Linux is the whole, first, second, third, especially of multiple, uh, multiple controllers, a SCSI-based system. I guess that's less common now. Um, but the, controller target disk, slice or partition with numbering makes a whole lot of sense. I'm trying to remember. It's been so long since I've used a SunOS 4 series. I wonder if it went back to SunOS 4. Probably did, but again, I haven't seen SunOS in a long time. Um, Although that may be a fun video to do here in a little bit. I know you can do QEMU Spark is pretty good, so probably can run one of the later SunOS 4 series, which Solaris is SunOS 5 and SunOS 4 is Solaris 1. It was Solaris 2, and it was 2.1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 7. They said it's now going to be Solaris 7, and Solaris 7, 8, 9, 10, now 11. I gave up on Solaris kind of when Oracle took over, when Oracle bought Sun. I have pretty strong feelings about Oracle. there are a few kind of just really profit-driven companies in the tech world and the computing world. Oracle's one of them. Everyone else said, "Oh, Microsoft was pretty bad." And yeah, no, Microsoft was profit-driven, but not to the degree Oracle is, not to the degree Apple is. Um, so yeah, that's opinion is mine only, but uh, there are there is a way to do good and still make money, and not simply make money and deliver substandard product. Which while this is installing, but yeah, so I'll avoid using the Oracle JDK if I can at all cost use OpenJDK. Or now I'm having a lot more luck and a lot of uses with IBM's JDK. It has some differences, a little bit of quirks, but I had to do some stuff with the IBM's analytical tools. Came with IBM JDK. It works. It works great. It has some tuning features that as of Oracle's 7 runtime were not available. So things like heap and garbage collection management. So we're digressing a little bit here from Tribblix. So OS spin or distro, um, Illumos kernel, which was kind of open Solaris back when that was open sourced. Again, Oracle closed sourced it after they open sourced it. Yeah, no, pretty offensive. Um, and Illumos kernel's got some stuff from Open Indiana. Open Indiana is probably the big gun. It would probably be like the Red Hat equivalent in the Open Solaris world in some ways. And not exactly a fair comparison, um, but maybe more like Fedora, I guess. They're the ones that's it's kind of it's big. It's got a lot of input. It has a lot of options. Really more designed for uh, for more trying to express this concept, but it's not for the enthusiast. It's more for the business. I don't like that distinction. Uh, for my business stuff, hey, I'd run business stuff on Slackware. There's no difference, but people want something that's kind of uniform and yeah, whatever. It's that's my own issues with things like Red Hat that are just painful to use. Same thing with CentOS, where something like Slackware is, um, easy and breezy, and that's the feeling I get from Tribblix here. Is this is in so many ways it feels to me like Solaris. Again, run by one guy primarily, lightweight, kind of a as he says in his pitch for it, it's kind of got a retro feel, and that's absolutely right. So I'm going to switch out of scale mode here from when we do the reboot, so I can eject the disk and see the reboot happen. So we'll get this booted back up here and switch back into scale mode. Um, so it has this great feel, and part of that is the retro feel, but part of it is also the simplicity principle. Everyone talks about the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. Um, that really is a good thing. That applies so well in a lot of OS type stuff. I mean, there's a reason why the BSDs have maintained their foothold in some ways is they are simple, well documented, etc. But again, I'm diverging from the topic here. This being a based on Solaris, based on Open Solaris, and Solaris kind of being the OS nerds OS. When they started coming out, and I guess it was the late '90s, early 2000s, things like Zones and dtrace and ZFS, and just amazing stuff. So let's log on here and talk a minute about package management. Another area where this really excels is see some of the Open Solaris, or I should say Illumos um, distributions or spins use IPS packages, or they'll use Debian packages. Things that where this uses the classic System 5 packages, which is really nice. But what the developer has done here is made a system he calls overlays, which let you install groups of packages. So there's a tool, Zap, so we can list overlays, and that really wasn't handy. Let's pipe that through more. Um, and as you see when we did the kitchen sink, we got a lot of good stuff here. We got enlightenment, we got some other stuff, but this bundles a lot of stuff together, so you don't have to worry about individual packages. It also gives you nice upgrading uh, capabilities. So let's see what else is going on in here. The first thing we're going to do is install the guest editions. So again, I'm going to apologize for switching out of scaled mode and get back there. So this will get us a better X display. So again, volume daemon is running, so very nice. Um, Throw in the guest editions, and System 5 packages are, if I had to pick a package other than something nice like Slack builds and the Slackware packages where it's just a tarball, System 5 packages would be it. They work well, they're easy to understand, and they have some good features. So, again, this is kind of a quick overview. What can I really show you? This is a perfectly functional operating system. I mean, there are no faults here. Again, the interesting thing is the overlay system. So let's log out here and start up X. So I'm going to get out of scale mode again, and we're going to first we're going to provides a nice utility to pick the X session you want. So just for being quirky, we'll do window maker and fire up X. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger here. And get next term. So this may not be terribly readable, but hopefully you can see it. But we have the list overlays. Man, so let's pick something, an overlay to install. Let's say I want Fortran. It might come in handy. I certainly write some Fortran from time to time. So, show you how easy this is. Give it an install overlay, and then it picks up the packages here. Pretty cool. So, there's a package repository maintained. Has a lot of good stuff. So, let me see what other stuff we have here. You can also install packages directly. So, let me view the help here. Let's see about. We'll give it the name. So we just threw the JED package out there. So JED, by the way, is a pretty handy editor. Combines some features of Emacs, some other stuff. Let me see if there's Elvis. No Elvis. Whatever. It's probably got a real Unix VI on here. It shouldn't need Elvis. So what else is there to say about it? So you get zones, dtrace in here. Yes, dtrace is in there. So you get zones, dtrace, ZFS, free operating system. Exquisitely put together. It is just as complicated as it has to be. The simplicity and the kind of the passion for having usability and functionality really shines through in here. Again, the closest thing I could get to would be something like Slackware, or maybe kind of OpenBSD, where it's its functionality probably above form, but the lack of attention to form is a form in and of itself. So that it's just you know the beauty of engineering, and also that it's one man doing this is another thing that you say, oh, there aren't a lot of competing requirements. It's what works for someone, and the nice thing about that is that what works for someone to do their task may also work for a lot of other people. And when there's not a lot of, that's the double-edged sword of kind of open source, is a lot of people, a lot of ideas. That's a good marketplace of ideas. You'll get a lot of good stuff in there, but sometimes there's a little too much, and sometimes editing's necessary. Um, so just like Slackware, it's really, Patrick at Slackware does, a lot of the stuff. Obviously, there's other people contributing. I don't know if this is if there are multiple people contributing here to Tribblix, but I'm blown away. I've messed with Open Indiana, and yeah, if I had to do or Open Sexy, for lack of a better term, I don't know how to pronounce it. Open SXCE. I call it Open Sexy. Um, Probably not the correct way to pronounce it. But how do you pronounce these unpronounceable acronyms? Um, I've used both of them, and those would probably be for a server more applicable. And then there are other Illumos distributions out there. There's probably a dozen or so main ones, but this is the one that really tickled my fancy, and I've got to investigate some of the hardware support here because this may actually make sense to do some work on. Realistically, I have my new virtualization host. This may turn into uh, the host operating system there, because zones plus QEMU, KVM, means you get a really nice, well secured layer, so you can do provisioning. Zones are great. I mean, this is one of the shames with what happened to Solaris, and you see it in the industry is people were already starting to move away from Solaris for a couple of reasons. One, this is before Oracle bought Sun, is that there was a lot more people who knew Linux, and a lot more proprietary apps began to be put out for Linux. So you didn't need, a legacy proprietary Unix at that point. A lot of people didn't think they needed some of the features of things like dtrace. Uh, Zones is a little less necessary. Dtrace or um, ZFS, and so Linux really gained a foothold. And then, of course, when Oracle went in and said, "Ooh, there was a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt," and some of that proved true. I mean, closed they closed the source to a previously open source uh, project, and um, that left, I think, a pretty bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Um, and now, one of the downsides of this is the retroness didn't go all the way. It does use SMF, um, and my gripes with SMF are not as bad as my gripes with something like systemd. Um, but again, for something simple here, and again, Tribblix is kind of more targeted to maybe the desktop. Like I said, I wouldn't at this point run a mission critical production server on it. I might run some non-mission critical production servers on it, absolutely. Probably use Open Indiana for the more mission critical stuff, or Open Sexy. Um, but certainly for desktop use, absolutely. And that's why I said I'm going to go maybe consider using this as a new host, just because it is simple, lightweight, and the overlays let you install overlays to zones, so that you can do a very sparse root zone, or sparse root OS, and then your zones can have just the software they need, which, again, one of the beauties of zones. So really powerful stuff. But as I was saying, SMF, not a big fan. Nothing wrong with System 5 startup or BSD style startup. Yeah, I guess it works well. It harkens back some of the stuff with the IREX startup, um, and their managed startup, which was similar to SMF, although much more primitive. SMF is probably the best implementation of that sort of managed service um, controller. So that kind of wraps it up here. Leave a comment below if you want to see anything else on Tribblix. Like I say, I've only been playing around with Milestone 15 here for a few days, but at this point, absolutely love it. Highly recommend. Throw it in a virtual machine, play around with it for a little bit. This is kind of, Open Solaris is the OS nerds OS. Tribblix is the nerds distro of a nerds distro. It just really hits the nail on the head in every way. The usability comes from wanting to be usable, not by wanting to be, user friendly. And so that makes it exceedingly user friendly, especially for someone who knows their way around it. Um, that's about it. I guess I'll put a link to the website where you can go download the ISO in the description here. And probably have something out again in a few days. But you guys just mentioned that I really need to do one on uh, doing some Spark emulation with QEMU. Uh, I don't know. I was thinking of doing like an old classic Red Hat on QEMU Spark, but looking at this, maybe we'll do Sunos. There is a Spark ISO for this. The comments are that it isn't perhaps as well tested, and some packages aren't available. So do try it out. I don't have any Ultra Spark hardware right now, but that may be something else to play with. Thanks.